This will be an update on my Dalek project. The project is going to be a Dalek from Doctor Who with some blinking LEDs and the little lights up here, and a voice, not voice, but an MP3 player down here to play sound bites, and probably an animate the arms up and down. I've been working on all the electronics for the past couple of weeks, making boards on my little CNC machine. That's my first failed attempt. Well, it's kind of failed. It mostly worked, but this is my latest. I'll demonstrate it before I do any more talking. Three double A batteries back here.
Exterminate.
When it starts up, it plays with sound bites, so you let you know it's doing something. The lights flicker when it talks and flash at a set interval when it's just doing nothing. This will be the button that actuates it all. These two things here somewhere. I'll have to figure out where I'm going to put a button on there.
Exterminate. Exterminate all humans. We have already conquered Earth. Exterminate, annihilate, destroy. Daleks conquer and destroy. You make your incompetence sound like an achievement. We are the masters of Earth. Why do human beings kill human beings? Obey us or die.
You get the idea. The motor runs while it's playing the MP3 file. That'll just be to animate these arms up and down probably. I thought about making the head swivel, but I'm not sure about that yet. We'll see. The lights aren't as bright as I would have liked, but they are brighter than what's showing up now. I'll turn all my lights off. I've got a ton of light to get this cell phone to get any kind of good video at all. I'll turn it off and maybe it'll.
We do not release prisoners. We are the masters of the earth. Exterminate.
I'm going to explain how the LEDs work now because it's not as straightforward as you would think. There's actually two LEDs in each one of these little fixtures, light fixtures, I forget what they call them. There is a small surface mount LED sitting up here at the top and a 3mm LED pushing up in here. The reason for that is that the two surface mount LEDs are actuated by, powered by we're just across the speaker outputs with I think a 50 ohm resistor. I can't remember what I use now to limit a little bit of a current. That's an idea, as I said in the last video, from a pickaxe user called Urko. He shows how to use this DY7V17F module. That's this module right here, the MP3 player. It's kind of a standalone MP3 player module. Doesn't have as much memory as the ones with the SD cards, but it works fine. It'll be just perfect for this project, I think. I'll explain what's not perfect about it in a minute, though. But back to the LEDs. There's a surface mount LED wired with wire wrapping wire. If you don't know what that is, it's a little 30 gauge wire we used to wire wrap circuit boards with. And they're in series. And under that surface mount LED is a just red 3mm LEDs, and they're also wired in series. And they come out here. And the pickaxe microcontroller that's controlling this MP3 player is what flashes that. I liked the effect that when you wire those two LEDs across the output of the speakers, it gives a really nice effect of modulating like it's the voice. I really liked that, and I didn't want to just have it turn on and off like I would have had to do with the microcontroller. Well, there's probably a ways around that, but I wasn't going to get that deep involved in it. But it's just a simple effect that's easy to do when you with this MP3 player. A pickaxe, all it does is blink the LED. That's that blinking. You'll see at set intervals. That's the blinking right there the pickaxe does. So that's kind of a pain to do. The little surface mount LEDs are 1206 size, which aren't real bad to solder to. I mean, I think there's some of the bigger surface mount parts. My first attempt, I tried these, which you can actually buy. And that's not just a wire, two pieces of wire put together. I hope you can see it, it even shows up. There is a small surface mount LED wired up here to it. So I got some of those and wired two of them in series just like that. They're on some enameled wire, I believe it is, like a magnet wire. It's just got a enamel coating on it for insulation. They're just not bright enough, but they are small. I cannot believe how small they are. I didn't realize they were that small when I bought them, to tell you the truth. You could fit a whole bunch of those in here, but they really weren't bright enough. But 1206s, I think are bright enough. If I didn't have in normal room light, it looks pretty good. It's just I got so much light for making the video. Okay, the speaker is just a 28 millimeter speaker. This is going to be a 30 RPM N20 motor. The motor is driven by a MOSFET here on the board, an in-channel logic level MOSFET. I could get you the name for it if you want it. They're these IRF 3708 right over here. They seem to be working okay. See what else is on here. My first attempt at this was with relays. That's what these holes down here are. And the reason I wanted relays was because this MP3 player pulls quite a bit of current when it's just sitting there. And I wanted to turn it off when there's not doing anything. And I made several attempts at it with the relay, switching the high side. So it's just like you put a switch on from the positive voltage to the module here. You would think that would have worked just fine, but the little reed relays I used, I'll show you those. With these, here they are, SIP1A05. They can be driven directly from a pickaxe pin because they're 500 ohm. They have a 500 ohm coil in them. It can be driven directly from a pickaxe pin. It has enough current capability to do that. Here's the relay. And you do have to put a diode across the coil so that when you turn it off, when the coil collapses, it doesn't wipe out your input pin, because it'll generate a voltage, a high voltage that could wipe out the input or the pin on the pickaxe, not input, but the output pin. One of the reasons this didn't work, that relay went right here. I was going to have one for the turning on the MP3 player and one for turning on the motor. So every time that I think it was happening when I turned it on or turned it off the MP3 player, the contacts on the relay would lock up. You could actually, when I breadboarded it to see what was happening, so the power would remain on all the time. It wouldn't go off, even though I took off the pickaxe, told it to turn off, it stopped energizing the coil. These were locked together. And I built it on a breadboard to experiment with what was actually going on. And after it happened, you could pull it out of a breadboard, test it with your continuity meter, and it showed they were closed, so they were like welded together. But you could tap it on the table, and it would open up. And it would happen almost every time. Well, it happened every time, I think. But anyway, that didn't work. I tried switching the low side with a MOSFET. That kind of worked, but that's not really the way you want to do it, I don't think. But either way I did it, well, I never could really flesh this idea here out with the relay switching the high side. I got funky results from the MP3 player. It would not respond as I thought it would. It would play the same file over and over again for some reason when it worked, or it wouldn't work at all. So I really got tired of messing with that. If I'd have had an appropriate high side switch, I think I probably could have made it work. I don't see any reason that you couldn't make it work that way. But this relay just wasn't doing the trick. I don't know if it was inrush current when it was turned on, or some voltage spike created by it when it turns off. I don't think there's much of an inductive load to this. There's probably some capacitance. Some of you out there will know better than me about things like that. But anyway, I just abandoned that idea. So since it's going to be running on batteries, what I think I'll do is I'll just tell the person that wanted it to turn it off. It's just kind of like a gift thing when they're not using it. Otherwise, I think I figured the batteries would only last a couple of weeks. Another option I'm thinking about is putting a USB plug in it and powering it from USB, or put the batteries in it and the USB connector, and just have a switch to let you select which one you want to use. That might be an option. I haven't decided yet, but I could put a USB micro plug in there, and then they could just power it from a USB wall wart. I think that might be a decent option. Not sure how they're planning on using it. Probably just set it on their desk and turn it on every once in a while. Anything else I want to say about this? I made these boards on my 3018 CNC. That was an adventure. This one, the first one I didn't have any problem as far as operating my machine. But when I went to make this one, for some reason it kept failing halfway through the file. I was able to I didn't have to start a new board. I was able to start it up and let it run back over the isolation routing, but it did make kind of a messy. It doesn't look too bad, but it's messier than it should have been. Anyway, I ended up hooking the 3018 up to a different computer with a different cable. So I'm not sure if it's my newer computer or just the cable was. I've had trouble in the past with unshielded cables trying to run those things, so it's possible that's what it was. I may just order a better cable. Anyway, that's a whole big adventure right there when things like that go bad, because it's not an easy process to begin with. You have to design your board, export the Gerbers, where you design your schematic, then lay out the board. I did it manually. Export your Gerber files, or what you use to manufacture the PC board. Take them into a program called FlightCam that produces the files that the CNC router can use to do the isolation routing and the drilling of the holes. So it's a multi-step process and plenty of room for error at every step. But I got it done. Be a lot easier to make the second one, I think. I hope it will be, if the machine operates correctly. So what I got to do now is, the board will mount right up in here like this. It'll lay flat against this wall. Well, not flat, but it'll stand up against this wall here. The motor, I guess, will be right up in here somewhere. The batteries, there's a part I haven't even printed out yet. Will be in the base. There's a little base part here. I think I will make the battery holder just integral to the base. I'm not going to use a manufactured battery holder. I have battery clips. I can just design around those. I've done that in the past. It makes a really nice installation. What else I got to do? Well, I'm sure I got to do a whole bunch of other things. Mount that motor, figure out how to actuate these with it. One of the problems when you want to do something like this, drive something like this from a motor, you kind of have to think about, well, what happens if it's running and somebody runs up there and grabs it, or if it gets jammed up or something. So I have to deal with that. Thinking about using some just spring or something to connect them. Haven't decided yet. I originally thought I might move the head too, but since the head can move 90 degrees, well, this will be mounted to the main body. The head here can move 90 degrees. There's a slot in there that limits its rotation. I thought about, you can see this is what drives it. I thought about animating this, but then you got to, the wires are going to chafe or fatigue over time. And I think I just decided against that. This here would be just posable. I have to work on this some more. It's just way too loose. What else I need to do? Well, that's about all I wanted to talk about for show. You got to have something like this to lay your speaker on. If you just lay your speaker on the table, you don't get as much sound out of it. It doesn't sound as good. If you put it in something like that, it sounds much better. I'll show that. That's easy to show.
Exterminate!
So here it is.
Exterminate! Exterminate all humans!
If you take it out of the speaker, it won't be as loud and it won't be as quality.
We have already conquered Earth. Exterminate, annihilate, destroy! Daleks conquer and destroy! You make your incompetence sound like an achievement. We are the masters of Earth.
So you can see the difference in that. Well, I think that's all I wanted to show. I'm still working on it. I'll get it done someday. Thanks for watching.